At exactly 2:17 a.m., a 911 dispatcher answered a call from a terrified young woman. She whispered 5 words, "He's already inside my house." Within 3 minutes, 2 deputies arrived at the suburban address. Every light in the home was on. A cup of coffee was still steaming on the table. A smartphone was plugged into the wall, charging. Despite the evidence of recent life, the house was empty. There were no signs of a struggle and no trace of the woman who called. On the kitchen counter, the officers found an unlocked smartphone with the 911 keypad still on the screen. However, the internal call logs and the service provider's records confirmed the same fact. No outgoing call had been placed from that phone in over 48 hours. As the deputies stood in the kitchen, the phone began to ring. The caller ID displayed 911 dispatch. When Ryan answered, the same woman's voice was on the line. She was crying, warning the deputies that they were standing exactly where a murder had occurred. The call disconnected without leaving a trace in the phone's history. In this house, the physical reality of steaming coffee and active charging cables existed alongside a digital record that claimed nothing had happened. While searching the hallway, the deputies noticed the security camera lens rotating to follow them. Deputy Ryan had already confirmed the main breaker was pulled. The house had no electricity, yet the camera's recording light remained active. They recovered the hard drive from a utility closet. The final recording was timestamped 14 minutes before their arrival. The woman looked directly into the lens and said, "If you're watching this, you're already too late." She then turned toward the front door, acknowledging someone that the camera couldn't see. In the final frame of that footage, a figure was visible through the living room window. The person was wearing a full sheriff's department uniform, standing perfectly still in the rain. The badge and patch on the uniform belonged to Deputy Daniel Brooks, but according to the department's own archives, Brooks died 18 years ago. He had been killed in the line of duty while responding to a call at this exact address. The surveillance footage confirmed that someone was currently using the identity of a dead officer to manipulate the scene and hide their presence. Hidden in the archives was an envelope from 20 years ago with a note on the front, "Open only if the phone rings again." As Ryan held it, the smartphone in the house received a new voicemail. A man's voice whispered, "They're listening through the walls." Underneath the man's warning, the deputies heard the sound of a child's laughter. They checked the county records for every family that had lived there since the house was built in 1984. None of them had children. The year the house was built coincided with the disappearance of 8-year-old Lily Parker. She had been reported missing from the neighborhood, and the case had remained unsolved for 4 decades. A faded Polaroid found in the records showed Lily Parker smiling in front of this house. In the upstairs window, a man is clearly visible, watching her. That man was Detective Harold Mason, the officer who was supposed to be leading the search for her. This evidence placed the lead investigator inside the house before the girl vanished, indicating that members of the department had been orchestrating events at this location since the day it was built. Following a lead from Detective Mason's old files, the deputies went to an abandoned courthouse basement. They found a VHS tape from 2008, recorded at the exact time of the initial Phantom 911 call. The video showed Deputy Brooks, the officer who was supposed to be dead, entering the house. He didn't look for a suspect. Instead, he removed a brick from the fireplace and hid a sealed envelope inside. Ryan and Emma returned to the house and pulled the brick from the fireplace. The envelope was still there, exactly where Brooks had placed it in 2008. This chart compares the official police narrative against the evidence inside the envelope. The department claimed the woman disappeared on October 14th. However, the recovered photograph shows her standing with Deputy Brooks on October 15th. The photograph proved the woman was in the company of the police 24 hours after they claimed she had been abducted. The disappearance was a staged extraction, managed by the responding officers. As the deputies left, a black SUV parked across the street suddenly sped away. Ryan pursued it briefly, but the vehicle was untraceable. The driver had dropped a file labeled Internal Affairs. It contained a list of officers involved in property records and evidence tampering. Every name on the list was crossed out, except for one, Sheriff Thomas Reed, the current head of the department. Ryan's phone received a text from an unknown number. It read, "Stop investigating case 214, or you're next." Sheriff Reed was the only officer from the original files who remained active. He was now in a position to supervise the very investigation that would expose his own history. Ryan entered the sheriff's office that morning. Reed was waiting. He placed a final evidence folder on the desk. It was case 214, the file that had been referenced in the threats. Inside the folder was a childhood photo of the missing woman standing with a 10-year-old boy. Beside it sat a stamped adoption record. The child's name was Ryan Parker. The documents revealed that Ryan's parents hadn't died in an accident. His father had been murdered, and his mother had surrendered him to the state under a false identity to protect him from the same people. The inexplicable calls and the hidden VHS tape were not random anomalies. Several officers who knew the truth about Ryan's identity had spent years positioning this evidence so he would be the one to find it when he became a deputy. Ryan opened a final letter from his mother. She wrote that she had staged her own disappearance and changed his name because she wanted him to have a life that wasn't defined by the department's corruption. Following Ryan's report, the FBI took control of the department's archives. The discovery of the 2008 records led to the indictment of several former officials and provided answers for the families of the missing. The investigation showed that power can be used to rewrite the official record for decades, but as long as the physical evidence remains, the facts of the past are never truly gone.